this page. This is Value Flow Trading, and my name is CJ. I'm going to be taking you through the analysis for the dollar, and we're going to be seeing what the dollar has done for the most part of this week. Okay, so we're going to be kicking off right straight into the chart. Now, looking at the dollar index for the most part of this week, for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we predicted for the first half of the week, predicted that the dollar should give us some decent retracement, because we closed last week in an expansion. All right, so after an expansion we usually expect a retracement. Okay, so price gave us an expansion last week, and we expected some decent level of retracement into some levels. Okay, maybe taking out liquidity residing right here, but the dollar overdid what we expected, so it took out liquidity even way below what we expected. Okay, so looking at the weekly, we have some decent levels that we expected the dollar to retrace into, one of which is this fair value gap right here, residing right the bottom right here, okay, in between these two candles. And the dollar did exactly that. For most people on our group, for our students, they were able to see these analysis play out before we call them and after we call them. Okay, so another thing that we took note of was that this was the last sell structure that we expected the dollar to take out before we concluded on our buy bias for the dollar. However, it did that 2 weeks ago, but it didn't close above here. And last week, like we saw, price closed above the previous week candle, and it gave us a strong sentiment that the dollar was going to go up. Okay, so that's for the weekly. Looking at the monthly time frame, we already said, and we've emphasized mostly in our Telegram group, in our mentorship groups, we emphasize that dollar on the monthly time frame, it's in a bullish trend. Okay, the dollar is strongly bullish on the monthly time frame. So all the sales we're seeing, we're taking shots, but we didn't target so much because we know that the dollar is bullish. It traded into some discount level and it's returning back bullish. Okay, so that's for the monthly, the weekly, and the weekly time frame. Now looking at the daily time frame, what happened this week? On Monday we saw some retracement, but it was not as strong as we wanted because there was no much liquidity in the market. And then on Tuesday we saw a few news releases. We saw the job openings and the consumer sentiment, consumer confidence that pushed the dollar downwards because they came out lower than expected. For the job openings, we saw about 8.83 million jobs, and it was lower than what we expected. So it was bad news for the dollar. Okay, so the forecast was about 9 million, but it was lower than the forecast. So it was bad news for the dollar, and it injected liquidity to the downside for the dollar. On Tuesday, that was for Tuesday, yeah. And then on Wednesday, we saw the preliminary GDP quarter on quarter and the ADP non-farm employment both came out negative. We saw it was bad news for the dollar. We saw how the dollar traded into this level that we highlighted on the weekly. Okay, and after that, good news came in for the dollar from Thursday into Friday. For Thursday, we had the unemployment claims. It was lower than the previous month, okay, which is good news. We have lesser unemployed people in the US, and it gave us strong incentive to buy the dollar. After price has followed our structural prediction, we needed the fundamentals to push it up after our technical all the places we marked on after our technical analysis. We needed fundamentals to push it up, and we just got that on Thursday. And then going into Friday, the unemployment, non-farm payroll rather, came out better than expected, and it was good news for the dollar. So we had good news for the dollar for the past 2 days, which helped us to see a dollar resumption, to see a resumption of the bullishness of the dollar. Now going into next week, these are what we expect to see next week. One of which is this high right here. Speaking from a technical perspective, we've taken out internal liquidity. We should be targeting external liquidities. Okay, so this high right here is the next obvious target for the dollar. It has taken out the one that resided here, and the one right here on this black line is where we expect the dollar to be taken out. The price level is around 104.750. So going into next week, we expect the dollar to smash above here and trade into this volume gap or volume imbalance, as you may call it. So our target for next week is to see the dollar expand right here, give it some level of retracement, and then continuous expansion to the upside. Okay, so this is our expectation for next week for the dollar. Okay, so until next week again, we're going to come back and give you updates like this. Next week, we don't have so much fundamentals. We only have ISM services and unemployment claims coming out on Wednesday and Thursday, respectively, for the dollar. So, and then on Monday is going to be the dollar USD bank holiday. So, we may see a quiet Monday. Okay, the dollar is looking like it's going to be quiet on Monday from the fundamentals. We're going to be having or what do we call it now, bank holidays on Monday. Okay, so the dollar may be quiet then, but going into next week, we should see some decent moves for the dollar going into next week. However, I want to see the dollar close bullish, all right, and in an expansion, so that going into next week, we'll see a retracement downwards and then a continuation to the upside. This is what we looking out for on the dollar. Until we meet again next week, we're going to be giving you our further projections for the dollar. Until then, this is not a financial advice, as you know. We need you to trade carefully, apply proper risk management, and we're going to come out profitable. Until we see you again next week, I wish you good luck, cheers, and God bless, guys. See you next week.